The home page is the primary entrance to the website and contains the central navigation system. More than a title page, it's a central navigation system, providing contact information and establishing the look and feel of the site. The home page can set the tone for the entire website experience. The home page should have the most important information visible without scrolling. This information is referred to as above the fold, a term borrowed from print to describe the content placed above a newspaper fold. For microsites, which are often heavy with video or animation content that requires time to load, an interim page referred to as a preloader or loader may be the entrance, as its primary intention is to show the progress of important content being downloaded to the browser. The underlying grid structure, color palette, graphics, textures, and spatial illustrations set up an identity, look and feel, and expectations. If the home page displays moving graphics that twist, turn, and flip, the visitor will expect playful activity throughout the site. A home page with clean, still imagery will cause visitors to expect the same simplicity everywhere else. All navigation systems consist of visual and digital links that connect one location on a web page to another location at either the same website or a different one. This is called hyperlinks. The visual areas of links are referred to as tabs and buttons. Tabs are simply graphic interface metaphors based on the function of tabs in a file folder. Both tabs and buttons are interactive links. It is critical that tabs and buttons are clear, simple, and consistent in style, shape, and color so the visitor can recognize clickable links and move quickly and efficiently through the site. Color in particular is a strong visual flag or cue that the visitor can immediately recognize. Our mind tends to see and register color before it does shape. Therefore, it is most important to use color not only expressively, but logically for consistency and denotation. Best practice dictates that if red is chosen for a button on the home page or global navigation of the site, then that red should be used exclusively for this purpose throughout the site and for no other non-clickable graphics or information. A button is used to make selections. Buttons do not have to be that little round disc. They can be graphic forms of any shape, or they could be imagery that creates a visual metaphor. A plan of how the pages will flow will ensure easy navigation and give a sense of where a visitor is. A sense of location, anywhere throughout the website. A lot of designers use storyboards or flowchart techniques to determine the flow of the site plan. When judging websites for merit, there are basic criteria like content, structure, and navigation, visual design, functionality, interactivity, and overall experience. The design concept is the driving idea or the backbone of the planning for any interactive solution based on the content, the strategy, the goals, and the brief, and it should address the specifics of the goals for the website, like whether the site's primary purpose is editorial, informational, promotional, transactional, or entertainment. The brand image conveyed through concepts and visual design should be consistent across all media to sustain a brand. Usually there's a lead agency or studio that establishes the strategy base for the marketing effort or integrated campaign. For visualization, there must be a consistent look and feel with the existing or concurrent design of the brand identity. A website design for a retailer may want to reflect the same type of shopping experience that the visitor has in the actual store, or the website design may duplicate online the layout and visual style of the store itself. Visual design is not just about impact or aesthetics. Visual design is a marriage of form and function to ensure an effortless and worthwhile user experience. Pictorial screen staples include photographs, illustrations, icons, symbols, textures, patterns, graphs, charts, maps, animation, and motion graphics. Imagery is either created by the designer or commissioned from an illustrator, photographer, or other designer. When selecting or creating images for the screen, think about optimizing the images, the loading time, basic guidelines for formatting, presentation, allowing for margins and padding, consistency of presentation like cropping, silhouettes, style and media, color and tone, special effects, Appropriateness of the imagery for the design concept and brand or entity or publication. Think about the size of images in relation to the text, the style and media of images in relation to typeface selections, consistent visual vocabulary for icons, the audience and how imagery is going to communicate to that mass audience. The basic rules about typography apply to screen media. When designing with type for the screen, consider the legibility. Select it for ample X height, open counters, modest stroke contrast, sufficient stroke weight. Avoid modern typefaces that have very thin strokes. Choose simple shapes which are easier to read. On-screen sans serif typefaces, especially for numbers, tend to be much more legible. And to guarantee legibility, set your type slightly bigger on the screen than you would for print. For readability, ensure contrast. The greater contrast between the color of the type and the background color offers the best reading experience. Black type on a white background or red type on a white background. Reverse type, white type on a black background, can be difficult to read in print, but it works very well on screen. Because bright colors detract from readability, specifying a larger pixel size adds readability to saturated color type. Keep lines short, a bit shorter than for print, ensuring that text type line length is no more than about 12 words. Design the type in chunks. A large text block is not inviting on screen. People prefer to read text in smaller chunks or short paragraphs. Remember that more so than in print, a condensed type style or very tight spacing is going to diminish readability. Make sure that the typeface selection is appropriate for the brand or entity. Remember that typeface selection can help differentiate a brand. Any display typeface should not fight for attention with the logo. And verify that the typeface's voice enhances the communication. Use hierarchical order to rank images and text in order of importance, emphasizing and ordering content from the most important to the least important. When designing a grid or a grid system, the purpose, marketing, goals, and objectives, creative brief, content, target audience, and design concept guide your decisions. Always remember that the grid should accommodate the content and not force the content into an unaccommodating grid. Designing a grid entails decisions about positive and negative space, about the space for content, and the spaces for margins, gutters, line spacing, paragraph spacing, padding, which is the space between graphic elements and a border. As always in all graphic design, the negative spaces are unconditional players in any composition. A grid for screens serves several functions. It unifies. It helps to establish an overall underlying structure to foster and maintain unity and harmony throughout the website. It determines basic anatomical structure. It establishes the position of the header, the feature area, the body, the content, the sidebars, the footer, the shape of the negative space, and the background. It creates visual style. The structure of a web grid contributes to the visual style, the unique visual identifying characteristics of the design. It facilitates layout. Because there is a continuous underlying structure, the skeletal structure of each page does not need to be designed from scratch. It allows easy changes to content. It facilitates the ease of changing content. Content can be then easily loaded and updated. It promotes teamwork. Any designer on the creative team can work on the site utilizing the grid structure, allowing for more than one designer or production assistant to work on the site, and it establishes geography. It affords the visitor a sense of location, creating the outline for the site. The grid splits the page into columns with defined widths, spacing, and margins to establish positions for the standard elements on the page and alignment of text and images. Often there is more than one grid per online design to allow for the different types of content and applications. When that is the case, the grids are designed with cohesiveness in mind. A grid aids unity to the level of consistency and correspondence throughout the site. Creating visual correspondence among the pages is crucial. Providing a sense of location for the visitor is equally important. For instance, the homepage link should be visually consistent throughout the site. In addition, each screen should have a menu in the same spot so the visitor knows exactly where to look to determine location within the site. The visitor should never have to ask, "Where am I?" without knowing where to look for the answer. Although single-column grids work well for mobile screens, multi-column grids provide flexible formats for desktop, web, or tablet. The more columns you create, the more flexible your grid becomes. You can use the grid to articulate the hierarchy of the publication by creating zones for different kinds of content. A single text or image can occupy a single column, or it can span several. Many designers favor responsive grids. A modular grid has consistent horizontal divisions from top to bottom, in addition to vertical divisions from left to right. The negative space of any digital page are the planned areas that surround and separate the content. These blank areas help guide the viewer, separating the content through pacing, rhythm, and flow, just like spaces in a well-developed architectural space help guide the visitor through the space. Negative spaces include the margins, the blank space on the left, right, top, and bottom edge of any page or screen. Padding, which is the space inside the border between the border and the image. Line spacing, which are the spatial intervals between two lines of type. And paragraph spacing, which is spatial interval between two paragraphs. The style of a website can be as varied as that of any creative form. The style or look and feel of a website must address the demographic and psychographic of the audience. Psychographic is the values, the lifestyle, and opinions. The style of a website can be classic in composition or edgy or experimental, but it shouldn't be arbitrary. The style should be based on the audience, the strategy, the brand, the group personality, the values, the identity, and the design concept. We depend upon our smartphones and spend a good deal of time in mobile space, whether someone is waiting in a line in a theater or store, sitting on a bus, in a doctor's office. That person's mobile device can provide information, connection, or entertainment. More Google searches take place on mobile devices than on computers. Mobile design exists as apps or websites. A mobile website is similar to a desktop website. Browser-based pages linked together and accessed over the internet, connected via Wi-Fi or the mobile carrier's networks and access points. Unlike our thinking for a desktop website design, we conceive and design a mobile website for a small screen, touch interface, and handheld device. An app may pull data and content from the internet, or it might download the content so that you can access it without an internet connection. We use our smartphones for a variety of purposes and expect branded apps and websites to deliver well and instantly. We want to find information and how-to content, find local attractions and businesses, watch videos, make transactions. How mobile experiences help us with these tasks shapes our brand perceptions and our preferences. Smartphones are our second screen when we watch television, using our smartphones to search the information related to programming and, yes, commercials. These micro moments on our smartphones are increasing daily and our brand experiences. These are some considerations for mobile design. Use a grid. The unsymmetric grid is very responsive and supports mobile browsers. The fluid grid system will show content perfectly on any device from a desktop to a laptop, tablet, or smartphone. Start designing from the content out rather than the canvas in. Define the graphic space. Define the margins and the padding. Maintain consistent widths and heights. Content is the space where images and content appear. Padding frees an area around the content. Borders can go around the padding. Margins free an area around the border and configure to the edges of the screen. Create a visual hierarchy based on priority information or entertainment. Make information eminently findable. Create unity with variety. Keep graphic elements consistent throughout with some variety for creating emphasis and visual interest. Think of spatial depth. Keep the screen flat looking or create the illusion of spatial depth with transparencies or layers, but be consistent throughout the design of a website or app. Make stylistic choices about your typefaces or type family. Points to consider for mobile screens. Does content download and stream as fast as possible? Does it enable communication? Is it easy to navigate? Can someone easily find information while they're scrolling?